Yes.
Kiva?
So 6.5 years ago, I was working in East Africa, in Kenya and Uganda and Tanzania, and for the first time, I encountered the poor as entrepreneurs. Not just as people that needed charity, needed a handout, needed a donation, but people who were working harder than anyone else to lift themselves out of poverty, and people who saw the world as entrepreneurs and saw the world as a place where they could make positive change, and all they needed was the appropriate capital. They needed access to the right resources, so they needed a small loan. This changed the way I saw everything. It changed the way I not only thought about poverty and what could be possible with development, but also the way that I thought about human potential in general. So it changed everything for me. Yeah, so I think there are lots of things, but I'd say that the top thing that I think Kiva's done very well is given away control. So we have co-created what Kiva is today with lenders, with partner organizations like the microfinance institutions here in Colombia and all over. And we have said, look, what do you want this to be? We want to gather a community together and allow people to exchange resources and to empower these entrepreneurs. So we believe that community is important, and it's nice to say that, but to really have it influence the way you develop a project and the way you open up areas of responsibility to people. So it's a very different thing when you're really committed to that. So this idea of co-creation, this idea of designing something together and allowing any person, any individual out there in the world to have a real way to get involved and be their own champion for the organization and what we're doing, to create their own lending team, to participate as a translator, maybe to go be a Kiva fellow, to participate in actually doing this work themselves, not just throwing money at a problem, not just signing a check or doing something very small, but really being involved over the long haul. I think that's the best thing that we've done. I can speak for me personally. I find it very motivating and freeing to focus on one person at a time and then expand on that. So not to start from how do we cut this, the 3 billion people living on, this a day. Like how do we shift life for 3 billion people or 5 billion people or whatever? Step back, start from the other side, speak to one person at a time, hear their stories, and build from there. And I actually think it's easy for a lot of very ambitious people, students especially, who might be in these institutions, incredible learning institutions where there are big ideas all over the place. And it's scary to start. It's scary to say, I have this idea. I don't know how I'm going to reach 1 million people next year. I don't know how I'm going to solve this problem, but I think this could be helpful. It's scary for them to start small, I think. It's easy to get intimidated and feel like the effort that you want to put forth isn't that meaningful. But I think that's the only way good things start. You have to be small and specific and serve one person well, and then serve a family well, serve a community well, and then grow. For me in my own life, I haven't seen a lot of solutions just come up and start working that are about, huge top-down approaches. I think it's about the human interaction, the human connection, and then going from there. So that, for me, when I need motivation, if I feel overwhelmed, if I'm feeling stuck for inspiration, I just stop and I listen to someone else's story and I think about, there's almost always one thing I can do to be helpful to them. Absolutely. So actually, in the last 1.5 years or so, Kiva's really stepped up its tracking and reporting of social metrics, especially around improvement of the lives of entrepreneurs that receive loans. What we've been, I think, good at thus far is the qualitative stuff. So yes, I can give you quantitative information on number of loans, number of dollars, people engaged, and that's great. And I think in and of itself that tells a particular story. The qualitative stuff, it's more invisible and hard to track. And to be honest with you, I think sometimes, I'm not saying that that you are, but I'm saying that I think sometimes people get obsessed with measuring and tracking everything and putting it into numbers, when actually the thing that's the most beautiful change that might happen when somebody lends 25 and it comes back could be that they see themselves differently, or they're inspired by this entrepreneur, or they believe they've decided to change their career path because, who knows what can happen on the inside, that invisible stuff. So as we get better at tracking that, great, but in the meantime, I believe there's both sort of the visible, quantitative, easy to measure stuff, and we have a long list of those. Then there's also the way that people change how they see possibility in the world. And I love the touchy-feely stuff, so I think that's, for me, what really inspires me more.